All right, we are now joined on the Soccer Hour, brought to you by your NorCal Honda dealers, by the great Kevin Egan of MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. Kevin, happy holidays. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, wonderful. Singing the Christmas songs around the house here in the festive spirit, sticking around Atlanta this time of year. And this year, last year, spent a couple of weeks in Ireland. So we'll be here with the kids Christmas morning and so excited, as I'm sure you are too with yours.
Yeah. So, did your kids go with you to Ireland? They already get the across the pond experience.
Yeah, they've been a few times now. I want to get them back as much as possible and for me to get back as much as I possibly can. Even if I have a window of 4 or 5 days, I'll jump
Yeah.
home just to see mom and dad back in Dublin and get a bit of time back in Ireland. It fills up that little bucket for me. You know,
No,
like
I
I love living here, but I also love home. I love Ireland. So I want to get back as much as I can.
Yeah, I have never been to England, Ireland, or Scotland. It's on my bucket list. My brother, his partner, she is from London, so he gets an excuse to go over there and goes to
Nice.
big soccer matches. She's a big Man U fan, so
Yeah.
he goes there every summer at least. Now he tells me, like, Teddy, you got to go. He's like, you need to get
You
across the
just have to
pond. So
book it.
it's on my list.
I'm doing a dream trip coming up here in a few weeks with
Are you?
Bradley Wright Phillips and Sasha Kleshin, the three of us from MLS 360 on Apple TV. We're heading to Dublin for a couple of nights, where we're going to go to Croke Park, which is the home of our Gaelic games, Gaelic
Mhm.
football and hurling, 82,000 seater stadium. We're going to hopefully going to practice a few kicks on the. I'll show them the 45s and the way we kick it in Gaelic football. Then we're going across to Brussels for a couple of nights. Sasha Kleshin, Anderlecht legend. We're going to go to the Anderlecht Brugge game, the local derby there. And then we're going across to London to meet up with Brad's dad, Ian Wright, and go to the North London derby, Tottenham Arsenal, which should be absolutely epic. So, brilliant few days in store with my 360 buddies.
That is phenomenal. By the way, I'll have to, as I've told you before, I am a U2 nut, and I will have to go look at many of their set lists from playing Croke Park, of which they have many
Yeah,
times. So
magic.
that sounds fun. I expect some, maybe some beer influenced text to come from you. So,
Yeah, yeah, you know what's going to happen.
so the season finally is at an end, Kevin. We've had just so many twists and turns, and the Galaxy are the champion. It's 2014 again. I guess when you look back at the entirety of the season, is the big takeaway that you're not talking about Messi and Inter Miami as the champions, or is there another storyline that you're looking at that evolved out of this season in its entirety?
There's so many, Ted. Ultimately, the big headline is the fact that Lionel Messi's Miami were the record smashers for the regular season points total and yet failed when it came to the playoffs. They fell short against Atlanta United. Nobody saw that coming. Atlanta, the lowest seed to make it through, and look at what they did to
Mhm.
Messi and Miami. Just absolutely remarkable. But then Columbus Crew fall short to New York Red Bulls. LAFC fall short in their matchup against Seattle. And there you have LA Galaxy. And I think ultimately this was a victory for our beautiful game. The way the Galaxy play, the way they express themselves, the way Pooj pulls the strings for this team. It's a victory for ambition as well. When you really consider, if it's not going to be Miami, the way they go and spend and bring in talent, LAFC, Columbus to a large extent as well, with their training facility and the stadium, the players they bring in. Galaxy's a great winner for this league. You know, like they max out on their DPs. They spend big on the likes of Gabriel Peck, Joseph Paintsill, and they have a really enjoyable playing style that every time the Galaxy run, I think it's must watch TV.
No, I agree 100%. And the Earthquakes, just by the quirks of scheduling, played the Galaxy a lot this year. And watching their attack when Pooch got out, broke the field, got things going. They ran it almost like a three-man weave from basketball.
Yeah.
And with Joveljic and Paintsill and Peck and Pooch, there was great entertainment. And I know that I'm the Earthquakes broadcaster and I'm not supposed to say anything positive about the Galaxy, but my heart was broken when Pooch suffered the injury because
I
to
know.
me,
I know.
after Messi, he was arguably the most entertaining player in Major League Soccer. And I know there's
Without a
there's
doubt.
some other names that I can throw in
No,
there as well,
I
but
agree with you. I agree with you. He's number two for me after the greatest of all time. Ricky Pooch was that good this year. I thought Greg Vanny, though, for giving credit, let's throw it at Vanny because you lose Pooch, and he expressed to us behind the scenes the day before the final extreme gratitude for Ricky Pooch in the way he played through. It was heroic nature for Ricky Pooch to play a 30-minute game with a torn ACL, get the team there, the match-winning assist, And Vanni said that if Puig comes off with 30 minutes to play, their momentum could have been completely and utterly derailed in that game. Seattle could go on to win that match. Puig gets them to the final, and then they've got a full week to prepare without him. So a masterstroke putting Brugman in, the way he manipulated that midfield without Puig, I thought worked really well. And they hang on in the end to pick up a sixth star, which must make the Earthquakes and LAFC and San Diego coming in here, that little bit more hungry ahead of 2025.
No, it'll be very fun, and just to watch the Galaxy do it, and they invested big in Paintsel and Peck in the offseason, and we saw the evolution of Joveljic up top. I mean, just again, they were a very fun team to watch, and I always think that's important. You want the fun teams. I guess with Miami, who I would consider one of the most fun teams we can watch of all, any game you're going to tune into, you're going to see something fun with them. But I guess is the takeaway, because for a 73-point earning team, a record in Major League Soccer, I believe they conceded something like 45 goals, which if you compare all the other, record-setting Supporter Shield teams, the goals allowed is way out of the norm. So is that just the big takeaway, that defense still matters in Major League Soccer, no matter how many incredible offensive weapons you have?
Yeah, without a doubt. And manipulating the cap and figuring out a way that if you're going to spend, big on your forward-thinking players, how do you go and find gems at the back? And I certainly thought Martinez was a wonderful pickup by Chris Henderson in Miami. Mid-season to be able to bring in a centre back like him was huge. And you look around, Columbus, Defender of the Year, Steven Moreira, absolutely exceptional. The Galaxy at the back, Maya Yoshida, winning his first ever club trophy was next level good, but the Garces might just be the story there. And so there's a common denominator and a trend when you think about some of the low budget pickups that we've seen from teams that really work. And that then makes you look at San Jose ahead of next year, a guy like Romney to come in and the difference he could make playing under a guy like Bruce. It's exciting to think about.
What was your reaction to the Earthquakes hiring of Bruce Arena since you took us there?
Magnificent. It makes it, honestly, without sounding harsh, it makes San Jose Earthquakes relevant again in my mind. It may, and I'm the host of MLS 360, where I'm studying San Jose each and every week. I'm looking forward to their games, but you've got to give the fans something to cling on to. And with this now, you bring in a proven winner who, let's be honest, with the way things ended at New England, will be really hungry to put the spotlight back on him in the right way, the way that we know that Bruce is as an absolute champion as a head coach, and someone who's just no nonsense. Like some of the lackluster performances we saw from San Jose will not happen under Bruce Arena. And if they do once, you can be damn sure that the next game, it's not going to happen again. So he's bringing in, warriors, fellas that will go to battle for him. And I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. I'm not saying San Jose are going to win MLS Cup next year, but the last 3 MLS Cup winners failed to make the playoffs the year before. It's something we often see in Major League Soccer. The teams will take a leap, and we saw that from LAFC, from Columbus, from the LA Galaxy, who finished 13th in the West last season. And I expect San Jose to be much improved. I expect Bruce to go on and make more signings and impressive signings at that. But already, I'm sure, Ted, you're looking at this roster thinking, we're going to be a lot better than we were last season.
And they just made another announcement right before, I think 3 or 4 minutes before you jumped on, with Nick Lima, the free agent from New England previously. So continue with that trend. But obviously he came up with the Earthquakes, was the second ever homegrown signing in the history of the franchise, was there through 2020, then went to Austin and then New England. So he comes back in. But the thing that I point out, Kevin, is that he's getting guys in a Dave Romney and an Ian Harkes and a Nick Lima that A, know how to have fun, but B, can also bring in that don't F with us attitude. And I think you need that type of moxie, because the Earthquakes need to puff themselves up again. They need to act like the, not the instigator, but there needs to be a little bit more bravado behind the shield than what we saw.
Yeah. The one word, honestly, that comes to mind for San Jose with me is culture. That it's not like the team hasn't spent money. They have. The cultural aspect is so important here. And sometimes when you see the heads drop with San Jose, you're thinking, oh no, this is bad news.
Yeah.
You saw it with some of the quotes. I remember that one quote post game, was it from Jeremy Abobasi, when he just talked about how bad things were at that moment in time. Culture is so important. Bruce will bring that old school, fun but hardworking preseason for this group. He brings in guys that have been there, done that as part of a Supporter Shield winning New England team. And I think there's already classy pieces there. Lopez is a brilliant signing. I'm convinced by him. I think he's going to be a really, really good player in San Jose. Pellegrino has shown flashes. Obviously, Espinoza is a brilliant player. I think the team needs much more from Jeremy Ebobisse. Will Bruce go sign another number nine to compete with him? Ebobisse has proven that he can be a really good goal scorer in this league, and maybe with Bruce there, I really like him. I had a chance to chat with him a couple of times.
Yeah.
Such an intelligent guy that really focuses on his own game and studies his own game. And I can't wait to see what he can do with Bruce in charge. But then at the back, sure, up with the likes of Romney, who's been an under the radar player in MLS for what, a decade or so now, since his LA Galaxy days. Um, I'm excited. I think there's enough to be positive about right now with the signings now going. What are you thinking? Maybe a left winger to compete with Pellegrino? I
I
think
mean,
for sure.
that would be what I would be thinking about. I think they're also, they're looking at a lot of things from my understanding. I just think you got to wait and see where things go. The one thing that I'm curious about is stylistically, because
Mhm.
with Arena, people focus on him being just the king of good vibes. They don't talk about his tactics and his X's and O's. But I wanted to ask you about Major League Soccer this year. I think back, this last year was my 11th year doing the Earthquakes play-by-play. They have,
You're a
you know,
veteran now, Ted. You're a
yeah,
veteran.
I know. It's I've seen a lot, but you know, over the time in Major League Soccer, we've seen things go, 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1, Christmas tree, 3-5-2, 3-4-3, 4-3-3, because Peter Vermes and his success really influenced a lot of the coaches. But this last year, I felt like on any given day, you could see almost any formation, and it was never more broad about the league. It was less of a copycat league than I think we'd ever seen. Everyone was just kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. So many times in the build up to MLS 360, I'd look at the team news. I'm like, hang on, are they going three at the back this week? Going to play with wing backs? Like what's LAFC doing here? What's Inter Miami doing here? Columbus Crew, New York Red Bulls. You're absolutely right. The amount of clubs that we'd see tinkering, I don't think you're going to see that from Bruce. I don't think Bruce is going to be as concerned about the opposition as a lot of other coaches. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that's the sort of mentality that needs to percolate and seep into the minds of the San Jose players, that we can beat anybody in front of us. And sure, you want to study the tape, you want to focus on the opposition, but go and be the best you first. I'm a firm believer in that. And Bruce will empower the human being first and foremost to go and want to win for this team. And that cultural aspect, along with talent identification for San Jose, is going to be crucial. And then, come on, lads, the academy. The academy has to become a primary source for San Jose. If you're not going to go and spend 20, 30 million per transfer window, make sure you do not lose key pieces like a Diego Luna from many moons ago, or Arfston, for example, guys that have come through and been there within the grasp of San Jose that they've somehow let go. Those types of guys can't play for other teams in future. San Jose need to make sure that they stay in the Bay Area.
What are you most excited about for this upcoming season of Major League Soccer? I know you're probably thinking, come on, Ted, we just finished up a couple weekends ago. But I mean, I'm sure there's some things that you've already thought about to think in 2025, I'm wondering about, and that's where you fill it in.
I think ambition. I think we're heading into a year where the Club World Cup is coming to the United States. You have the World Cup the following year. You have a lot more eyeballs on the US. It comes at a time where hopefully, Apple TV and Major League Soccer in a third season now are going to really start to motor in the right direction with the teething problems that maybe, you start out with a brand new, albeit mega company like Apple. It still takes time to get things really up and running. And hopefully we really start to kick into gear. Mm. But I do think that ambition across the board is going to have to be one of the big themes coming in. You're going to see a lot of clubs. Atlanta United, Chris Henderson was just appointed yesterday as sporting director under Garth Lagerwey. They're probably going to spend about 40 million, you would think, because they have that in the kitty after the sales of Wiley, Yakimakis and Almada. And they only brought in Alexei Miranchuk during the summer for a fee, that is. I know Pedro Amador, the left back, came in too. So I just think ambition across the board. The New York Red Bulls, Eric Choupo-Moting, I saw today, just signed for the club, albeit he's 35, but he's played for such big clubs coming across from Bayern Munich too. I think the Red Bulls haven't been to a final, will want to invest and hopefully go again and push hard. Atlanta, like I say, Miami will push on again. You'd think Columbus will still have a sting from how it played out. And then out west, if you don't think the LAFC are sitting around looking at LA Galaxy lifting a sixth championship, wondering why it wasn't them, they had number one seed in the West and they let it slip, losing home to Seattle. So ambition and hunger, I hope, is the theme. And I hope we see teams go and invest, go and spend, and try and push Major League Soccer to another level.
You are connected to the Atlanta franchise. Can they recapture what they had with the fans and the insanity? I remember even before they were in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, when they were at Bobby Dodd Stadium in year number one, the loudest sporting environment I've ever been in. I was trying to talk down the line to the producer at the station, and eventually I just had to say, if you're talking to me on my soundproof headset, I can't hear you, so just text me when I'm supposed to start broadcasting. And that was outdoors. That's the old Bobby Dodd Stadium. I just remember that environment was phenomenal. And then obviously in the new building, it was just as good. It was just a bigger space. And so it wasn't quite as loud for me personally as the broadcaster in the stands, I'm sure. But, you know, that was good for the league. And it hurt me to watch the crowd not be the same size at all those Atlanta United games because I knew what it could be.
Yeah, I think recapturing what they had in 2017 is going to be very, very difficult because you come out of the blocks as an expansion franchise and you have the leadership that Atlanta had then. If you think about the type of personality that Darren Eales was, he's knocking doors. He's that friendly, happy-go-lucky president that's extremely savvy. Now he had been with Newcastle for the last few years. You can understand why he was recruited. Garth Lagerwey has a different way about him. He's a bit more blunt, but he's had tremendous success elsewhere with Real Salt Lake and Seattle. I think it's a different feel right now, but it's a blockbuster big time feel right now. I just think, and this is what I'll probably say tonight when I speak with Jason and Mike and Jess Sherman at this event I'm heading to in Atlanta, that I think this coming season is going to be a lot more difficult than people realize for Atlanta, given the roster that they have. I'm honestly not that impressed with the roster that they have at this moment in time. There's two DPs that will come in, but I'm not blown away by the talent that's there right now. I think they struck gold at the end of the season with Rob Valentino and the players were playing for him. I was surprised he didn't get a look at the job, a proper look at the job. I felt he earned that opportunity. But now they've got to hit 2 home runs with designated players and hope that some of the players that they have are good enough to truly compete. But you're in an Eastern Conference with Miami, with Columbus. You know, Cincinnati still a very good side. Orlando will try and push on, you think. I just think Atlanta, a top 4 finish would be a remarkable achievement for year one in the Chris Henderson era if they can go and get it.
Mr. Egan, I will let you go because I know you've got stuff to do, but I appreciate your time as always. Like I said, have fun on your trip. I will expect some texts to see how you all are having fun, but always appreciate your time, man. Have a happy holiday, and we'll talk soon, all right?
Yeah, Ted, you're a top man. Thanks for having me as always.